soir à 7h, où vous dînerez et où je viendrai dans la grande salle. Il ne faut pas me regarder dans les yeux.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Late night recording.
Late night recording. I was just about to say that. This is going to be a lot of fun. Everybody, my name is Pete.
And I'm Scott.
And these are the movies that made us gay.
Pete, we have a very special episode today.
Oh, do we?
So it is just us. Just a
Yes,
Scott
it
and Pete
is.
episode.
Yes.
And this is our first foreign movie we've done on the podcast.
Wow.
Or shall we say international? I know that the Oscars have sort of started to call the foreign film category international.
Oh, it is a foreign movie. Mm-hmm. It is not from America.
But yeah, so we got to our first French film, a movie not in English. I definitely have a pass with this movie. I'm kind of curious of what your background is with this.
Okay.
But we watched La Belle et la Bête, Beauty and the Beast, directed by Jean Cocteau, released October 29th, 1946.
1946.
I'm just going to warn listeners, there's probably going to be a lot of butchering of French names in this episode.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
French is not my first language.
Incorrect.
The only language I ever studied in school was Spanish.
Jean Cocteau, starring Jean Marais, probably the S is silent. Josettte. Oh, my goodness, Josettte. Get the hell out of here. I mean, this... Okay. This is like the Frenchiest French movie.
Her performance, too, is like...
That
It's
ever
so,
Frenched.
like... like moving her hands, like how she just sort of poses in all of these scenes.
You know, I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but she was almost giving me, like, I could see that maybe Amy Adams watched a little bit of this before she
did Enchanted.
Before she played Giselle, my favorite Disney princess. Just kidding.
I think a lot of Snow White, Disney Snow White, when I think of Giselle. And I guess Snow White predates this movie.
Yeah, 39.
Which is interesting, because this movie's old as hell.
This movie's old. It is old. It is French. It is in black and white. There are subtitles that you have to read to watch this whole movie. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's Beauty and the Beast.
It's one of
We know what's going on.
Yeah. It's a pretty straightforward story. It's easy to follow. And it kind of gets back to the original text of Beauty and the Beast, too. So this is an adaptation of the 1757 story, Beauty and the Beast, written by Jean-Marie Lapisse de Beaumont, and was published as a part of a fairy tale anthology. Okay. But also, I think that there are bits and pieces of the story that just show up a lot of places in popular culture and literature. Right. So I think that author just sort of pieced together, this is the definitive French version of the story.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's break it down. Listeners, movies that made us gay, fans, our Beauty and the Beast is 1991. Disney animated,
the Beauty and
Academy
the Beast
Award
most
nominated.
Were probably introduced to.
You know, I'm sitting here going, and here's Be Our Guest, and here's
the Gaston character.
There's something there that wasn't there before, you know. But when you watch this, like you said, it incorporated so much more of the original French text, and when you're watching it, you're like, okay, so she has two evil sisters who make her act as their maid, and she's like the scullery maid, and so there's like Cinderella in there, and the father, you know, and like losing the money, and the house is like, they're like house rich, but like, you know,
land rich but poor.
I
think that the father, he's in like trades, like he's an
importer, exporter,
and exporter. And
he works for Vandalay Industries.
That like he had a ship that like sank.
Yeah. Or several ships
that sank. I don't know.
But yeah, it's interesting when you watch this. And, you know, these fairy tales, they're old, twinkly to, like, Cinderella times.
Back in the ye olden days.
And they all kind of do not blend together, but they all have elements, like you said.
Yeah.
When you go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, they all kind of end up in the weird, like, is it French? Is it Russian? Is it German?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this, like we're saying, it has these elements that we're used to in other fairy tales of, like, the two evil sisters and all of that. But, you know, the bones of Beauty
of the
and
story
the
are
Beast, especially, and I mean, this isn't like a companion to the Disney animated feature, but we're probably going to be talking about it a lot.
And it's one of those things that I did want to mention that I knew, because I do sort of the programming for the podcast, and I knew if I did the Disney Beauty and the Beast before this movie, like, all of my film cred would have to go away.
Out the window.
Of just sort of like, who do we think we are? We're going to talk about the Disney movie before the 1946 movie.
Right.
Of just sort of, I knew that, like, to sort of get there, you have to talk about this movie.
And, I mean, if you're super not familiar with it at all, if you have no frame of reference for it, this movie is queer as hell.
Yes. It is very, very gay.
I mean, down from the director and
I'll talk a little bit about the director and the star.
All of that good stuff. There's a lot of, like, queerness going on in the production of the movie and in the movie itself. It is a glamour. When we were watching this movie, you're just slapped in the face with the glamour.
It's so beautiful looking.
Yeah. It's like a glitter factory, like, exploded. Like, and to you and I, Scott and myself, this is like movies that made us gay like heaven, because we're watching it and you're like, that was in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yep.
That was in, this is very Royal Tenenbaums. This is very,
I thought a lot of Ridley Scott's Legend.
Very Legend. Yeah.
Yep.
All these things that these modern directors have so blatantly ripped up. I mean, homage.
Yeah.
to this movie. Bram Stoker's Dracula is filled with it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. When we get to, like, the design and all of that. But do you want to talk a little bit about Cocteau and, like...
Before we get into that, I kind of want to go into my first memories of this movie.
Of course.
So I remember when I was in high school, my stepdad, Don, got me for Christmas or my birthday one year a collection of Roger Ebert's great movies.
Okay.
It's probably like a series of, like, 20 reviews of his. And I remember reading all of them. I had not seen a majority of them, but I remember reading his entry on Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this movie sounds really interesting, and I want to track it down.
Yeah.
And I did not end up watching this movie until college, because I was also watching Angels in America, directed by Mike Nichols.
Okay.
And there is a big sequence in Angels in America that's a dream sequence, and they do the hallway scene with Mary Louise Parker. Like, it's pretty much
a skateboard.
Like, shot by shot, she's going down the hallway.
Yeah.
The candelabras are the arms. And I think that I'm probably just read it online. It's a direct homage to Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
And then I rented this from the Bozeman Library. I rented
This is a library rental.
I rented this from the library. This is the classic library cinema rental.
Yeah.
Did you rent a lot of movies from the library? I did in college.
The only movies that I ever rented from the library were stuff like this. Foreign movies, old movies.
Stuff that was harder to get a hold of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had to watch, like, Europa for, like, history class. We're going over World War II. And, like, I had to get that from the library. Ooh, Europa. That's a rough one.
Especially if you were taking film classes, they would set whatever movie you were watching aside.
Yeah.
And back when I was in college, you just watched it in the library. Like, you went in, like, the room with, like, the little TVs, or you were doing a group project with other students, and you had to watch it all together because you were doing some, like, presentation on it or something. But yeah, I remember it was the summer of 2005 that I rented this movie. And like, it's stunning. And the Criterion is really cool because they have the Philip Glass score.
Yes.
You get this beautiful score that accompanies just the regular movie. And then that homo, Philip Glass, wrote an entire opera.
Of course, because of course he did.
Of Beauty and the Beast. And you can watch a cut of the movie with the Philip Glass score.
Right.
Which I remember thinking was really neat.
Yeah. Well, that was the first time I'd ever encountered that was when I bought Dracula on DVD. Mm-hmm. Todd Browning's 1939 Dracula. And that also comes with a separate Philip Glass score that he developed for the film, and then there's like a isolated just the score track and all of that. I think I watched this probably around the same time. My dear friend Espy, friend of the pod, she guested on our Romeo plus Juliet episode. Espy and I were always very like, ooh, we were like artsy, like just like, ooh, we loved Harold and Maude, and like, you know, like just so like tweed, and like, you know, we just loved like the cool shit. And I always trusted her judgment with movies, and she was the first one that recommended that I watch The Red Shoes.
I love The Red Shoes.
You know, and I feel like this is kind of a complimentary movie to
definitely. They would. You know, I could see like the double feature at the New Beverly
yes,
of
absolutely
Beauty and the Beast and The Red Shoes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I don't know if she recommended this to me, but I feel like the two of us would have been like, this is the one, just because like at times it can look like a Meatloaf video, but at other times it's just this beautiful fever dream of glitter and
so I'm glad that you brought
smoke.
up Espy because friend of the pod, I was just texting with her today about this movie.
Okay, so
that
what did
we
you
were
have to
covering
say?
It today.
Yes.
And she said, I have not seen it yet.
Oh, then I'm a big old liar.
I remember you guys said I would love it.
Then I'm a big old liar.
So you are sort of misremembering.
I'm misremembering it.
Recommending this movie. But that
she did say it was The Red Shoes.
If you know our friend Espy,
this is right up her alley.
This is right up her alley.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And I remember the very first time I watched this movie. You know, it's an older movie. It's from 1946, and we always joke around about
not the oldest movie that we've covered.
No,
on the
not
show.
the oldest movie we've covered on the show, but movies from this time frame: Snow White, Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind. They always had like a dedication at the beginning of the movie, where they were like, "This movie is like a thesis statement to like a high school paper."
The title credits of this movie. Also, by the way, like mic drop in the first 20 seconds of the movie.
So cool.
With Cocteau drawing them out on a
the chalkboard, and this like cool like handwriting, and it's all in French, obviously.
And you know what's also kind of
it.
badass about that? No one can do that now.
Oh, yeah.
He did it in the 40s, and now anybody that does credits like that are just fucking posers.
Just ripping it off.
Because he already did it.
Yeah. But then not only that, it goes to, like, a stagehand holding the clapboard.
Yeah. Love
like,
it.
That
so cool.
shit can you, like, in the 40s, people were like, oh, they left that in. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, movies were not deconstructed like that. Movies had to be, like, perfect, you know? And so there are things in movies now that we take for granted, you know?
Something that you would never see in an American movie in the 40s at this time.
I mean, even when you're watching the news and you can see a cameraman or lighting equipment, and they'll pull back as they're going to commercial, and you can see the set. That's just something that they do now on the morning news. Just add a little bit more pizzazz. But like in the 70s or whatever, like Walter Cronkite would never. He'd be like, "Get that shit back." Get that camera.
Like you're shattering the illusion.
Yes.
But I think that you bring up a good point that Cocteau was always an artist first. Is that he may
a visual artist.
He may have directed movies, but I don't think that he would have ever called himself a film director.
Right.
This was just the medium that he was using at the moment.
Right.
Was film.
Right. He was a bohemian artist, poet, you know, a painter.
A true Renaissance man in every sense of the word.
Yes, indeed. A bon vivant.
Surrealist, avant-garde.
Yes. He ran in circles with, you know, other artists and all of that fun stuff. And he was a known homosexual.
And for the most part, I don't think that he really tried to hide his gayness from society. Like, he was very forward of sort of his personal tastes.
Right.
And I was reading that he had a relationship with the French poet Raymond Renget.
Okay.
I told you I was probably going to butcher some names.
Works.
But yeah, so he had a lot of affairs, most notably the star of the movie.
Yes. The Beasts.
The very handsome
Jean Marais.
Marais.
Marais, however you pronounce it. And the gagarini of this movie is that he plays the Beast, and he also plays Avenant, which is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Gaston character. In this
friend
movie.
of the brother that is trying to seek the affection of beauty.
Belle. Now, in this film, like we said, Belle has two sisters.
Just serving bitch. I love these two characters. I love how awful they are.
So terrible.
Felice and Adeline?
Yes, Felice and, Adeline?
Yeah.
Well, they call it Felicity, Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Felicity and Adelaide, and then they have a brother, Ludovic. And Felicity and Adelaide are awful.
Wear some very beautiful hats in this movie, too.
Well, that was my thing. I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, is it Three Musketeers time?
I'm going to take it it's probably set around the time that the story was set.
They're giving me Pilgrim.
1700s.
They're giving me... Three Musketeers, they're giving me, just old
category
time.
Is
Buckles and Bows.
Category is pre-French Revolution.
Yes. But, a lot of times, Belle is giving me, like, Girl with the Pearl Earring.
It's a little Vermeer.
She's serving Vermeer a lot. She's, like, milkmaid. And
I definitely get a lot of Vermeer when you look at when it goes to Belle's home in the countryside.
Yes, which I love. The two sisters are kind of like I hesitate to say uppity, so I won't say that. They're kind of stuck-up girls. They're all about their appearances, trying to, act more rich than they are.
It's kind of a riches to rags because they were once very wealthy, and now they be broke.
Right. But they don't want anybody to know.
They're having a very hard time adjusting to it.
But, like, all the town knows anyway, so they're still trying to keep up these appearances, right? Ludovic, the brother, he calls himself a scoundrel, and he's a card player, and he's got like all these like gambling debts, and I think he's like a womanizer, and the girls are just like, you're good for nothing, get a job, like help support us, dad's like lost all our money, and you're like losing it even more. And Ludovic has a best friend named Avenant, and Avenant is much like Gaston, very handsome. Very handsome.
Not immediately the villain of the movie,
No,
too.
I was going to say, at the beginning of the movie, he's like, Belle, dude, let's get married. Get you the hell out of here.
Come with me.
You don't need any of this nonsense.
You can leave all of this.
Yeah. And she's just like, no.
And I just don't think that Belle wants to leave her dad.
Right. Because she's the good daughter, and she needs to,
So it doesn't quite match up the characters of the Disney movie. Until
the very end, not Ludovic, but Avenant. And Avenant's like, like he kind of goes a little crazy trying to save Belle, So and that's when it kind of, things shift a little bit. And it's like, all right, dude, calm down. But, so it's the same actor. It's Jean Marais playing Avenant, and then he's also playing the Beast. And like I said, quite handsome as Avenant.
Yes. Chiseled. Chiseled features. A body that you probably did not see on a lot of men at this time in the 40s. When you look at that like muscle definition.
And we have to talk about the Beast's look.
You know what it's giving me? And I think I mentioned it as we were just watching it a few minutes ago. It's giving me Shannel walking in on All Stars of Drag Race, looking like the Beast.
Well, that was from the Beauty and the Beast stage show. So the face is, full makeup application. Fur,
probably
bangs.
I think it took like 4 hours to put on.
All that stuff. Hair, a mane, all this stuff. And what the costume designers did was they were really serving proportion. They were proportionizing.
Yeah.
With him, because obviously they couldn't do.
They can build up the shoulders.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they couldn't do anything with his legs. They can't do the Pan's Labyrinth like backwards ankle like a cat or like a dog. There were some
constraints that you couldn't quite make them.
Yeah. It was the 40s, so they could do hands. So he had furry hands and nails, and the face was insane. It looks crazy. Like, how did they do that at this time with spirit gum and like yak hair?
Yeah.
But his body is just a man in clothes, and so they did these shoulders that are very Shannel. RuPaul's Drag Race season 1, All Stars 1. Very draggy shoulders that just kind of broaden his whole body. The head piece is so big because of the mane and all that, and then he's got one of those, what are they called, the ring collars?
Oh, sure,
like the Pennywise,
very like Renaissance,
a ruff, or they call it it's called a ruff, like a Shakespeare kind of.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what it's called, but yeah.
Ruffled collar situation. And so his head is quite large. So if they didn't do the big shoulder thing, it would look crazy on his just normal man body. And then the shoulders kind of go down. There's like draping over them. And that goes down the length of his body to like his feet. And so it widens his entire body and makes him look big, like the Beast.
He has some cool boots, too.
Very cool. And the boots are what gives me the Three Musketeers kind of situation.
But what really completes the look for me, it's the eyes.
Yeah.
Very beautiful eyes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Especially like how they light it, like his he has very like expressive eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the actor is doing a little Christian Bale like Batman situation where when
I
he's
love the Beast voice.
Yeah, when he's Avenant,
I wanted to use it as the opening clip, even though
and
like
when he's the Beast, it's just very
we don't. I mean, I don't speak
Scrunchy.
French, but
No.
I mean, I could listen to that intro on repeat. And the intro is when he's talking to Belle of "You can only see me at dinner."
Yes,
that's when I'm going to appear because
7 o'clock
I'm so
every night.
like ashamed of myself that you can only see me like once a day.
Yes. So the basic storyline of Belle's father, he's not an inventor in this movie.
No.
He's, like we said, he's an importer-exporter for Vandalay.
So I take it that he kind of...
One of his ships full of merchandise, textiles or whatever, was lost at sea, and then he got news that they found it, and so he was going into town to like talk to all of his like debtors and say like, "Hey, I found the ship. It's here." Some bad news happened. Either the ship was empty or something. Like it just wasn't going to work out. Regardless, like they were just like, whatever came in is just not enough to pay off everything because you're that far behind. So you're still broke, you know. And so he was just like, all right, screw it. I got to go home. Lost in the woods.
Finds himself in this chateau.
Yes.
This very mysterious chateau that he is sort of like beckoned in.
Yes.
Like,
and this is where we get, there are not enchanted forks and knives in this movie.
It's pretty much just the candelabras in the hand. I mean, there's kind of arms everywhere in this castle.
Yes.
Like, there's just sort of arms that come out of the table. There's arms that come out of the candelabras down the hallway.
But not only that, doors open for you.
Yep.
His name's not Maurice, but Maurice, the father. As Maurice walks up to the chateau, the branches of the tree
open for
him. For him.
Yep.
And to me, I'm watching that and I was like, oh, that's in Coppola's Dracula. They do that with the peacock feathers.
Yep.
And then as he a door opens and it turns out it's a stable door and his horse goes in, and as he's about to follow the horse, and the door closes. And it's like, okay, that's the stable, so your horse is going to sleep in there. And then he goes into the house, and that's when we see the arms holding the candelabras, which is all over Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
They're not specifically holding candelabras, because that would be too much.
It would be too literal.
But there's arms holding, like, dripping candles, like a single can. And then there'll just be some art, kind of like a gargoyle shape, but it's like an arm with like a...
The statues are real people, too.
In this movie, the statues that are faces are so wild. It's like, oh my God, I love it.
It's pretty cool.
The way they just move, their eyes move from side to side and everything. I mean, of course, everything's practical. It's 1946 again. So it's all stuff that he did, you know? And the thing about movies like this is that, like, after a certain point, how much of the IMDb trivia is real, how much of it is, like, legend. Mm-hmm. You know, Judy Garland going on, like, Dick Cavett talking about, like, the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, like, closing in on her as
orgies with the Munchkins.
Yeah,
we've heard it all.
How much of it becomes legend? But the IMDb trivia says that the statuary that are faces in the castle are children, and they're children so that they look smaller and not just like a person. Next to, as Maurice is sitting there eating dinner, there's the fireplace behind him and the, like, end pieces. The fire.
This dining room always reminds me of Darkness from Legend, where he meets Lily.
Yes,
it reminds me of the big fireplace of that movie.
Yes, and just a table full of food and candles and more food and wine and all of that. So here's what I noticed watching it this time. My memories of this movie, and when you think of this movie, you just kind of imagine these, like, ornate sets. They are not.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when we were watching it tonight, it's pretty minimal.
You can see the stage floor.
Yeah.
The hallway where the candelabras are coming out of the wall, it's just a wood wall painted black.
Yeah.
With armholes.
It's almost like a black box set.
Yes. There's the fireplace and the table, and then next to it is a staircase, and the staircase is made of, it's just wood. Completely unfinished.
And it adds
no railing, no nothing.
And what I like about it now is that it just sort of adds to how surreal it is.
Yes. Well, it's all painted black, and it's all lit very, I don't know, expressionistic. It's not an expressionism movie, but, you know, when you have these, like, for all intents and purposes, black box sets, you know, and I just imagine in my head, because there are shots. You know, his little magical room that, like, is forbidden. It's, like, filled with all the, like, gold and jewels. Yeah. That's, like, all ornate and everything. But the castle itself, it's very minimal, very simplistic.
Pretty simplistic.
And, you know, that reminded me back to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Coppola said that at the beginning, in his early thought process, he wanted the sets and the staging to be completely minimal, and he wanted the costumes.
He wanted the movie to lead by the costume design. Yeah. And I think that's why they ended up firing the cinematographer.
Yeah.
Was over arguments about stuff like that.
And obviously they didn't end up doing that because the production design is just as over the top as the costumes in Dracula. But I think he got a lot of that from this. Because it's just black. They're just in front of black. Belle's room is beautiful. Belle's room is giving me, like, Norma Desmond's bedroom. You know? But the rest of the castle, of what we see of it, we don't see Beast's room. There's no library. There's none of that stuff. It's always just the hall, the main room with the fireplace and the table, the staircase. And then you'll see Belle's bedroom, another hallway, things like that. But, yeah, it's very...
I found a little bit of IMDb trivia of how they filmed the candlelight scenes. The effect of the candle lighting themselves as the merchant passes them was achieved by blowing them out and then running the film in reverse as he walked backwards past them. The entire sequence was done in one long take and reversed. A quick glimpse of the fireplace shows the flames appearing to move downward.
Yeah. And
also, when you watch Ridley Scott's Legend, they do kind of something similar with that.
Where the candles
where you
on,
can sort of see the smoke moving in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, and
the smoke, or like the fog. Because they broke out like the fog machine in that movie. Yes. So you can sort of see it moving on the floor.
Things like running film backwards is a very, like, old school, like, special effect kind of a thing when, you know, optical effects. And
it works when the shot is too tricky to get in camera.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a couple of shots in this movie that are done in reverse. And they're pretty effective. I think modern eyes are just like, oh, that was backwards. Mm-hmm. But when you watch it and when you're just kind of wrapped up in like the magic of this movie, and that's the thing, I think that Cocteau used a lot of cool tricks, almost like magic tricks, very, very like a Méliès kind of a thing, where he utilized what he could from filmmaking at the time,
or like the power of the edit of to
make it look right,
kind of like at the end. One of my favorite shots of the movie is when Belle gives the necklace to one of her sisters, and when the sisters pick it up, it's what is it? Hair?
It's like a mangled, like, I felt like it was like plants, like roots.
It looks like something that you would pull out of your drain,
or like or just dead. I thought it was just like a dead plant.
And then when she throws it on the ground, it
drops to the
again.
necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the
way she hands it off, it's pearls in Belle's hand, and she passes it to the sister, and as it. Like, I don't know if it's a cut, if it's in camera or what, but it turns into
just kind of these fun, seamless
thing.
edits.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. At the time, like, necessity just gives way to this ingenuity and this, like, inventiveness where they come up with these crazy, cool, shots. And, it's fun. And at the very beginning of the movie, when there is that, there's a really cool credit sequence with the hand-drawn things, but there's the dedication that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. In Wizard, usually it's fantasy movies, period movies
probably meant for children, but adults are going to gravitate to them.
And so he talks about that in the dedication, and talking about fairy tales and children believing fairy tales that we read to them, or stories that we tell them, and thinking that they're true and all that. And here's a fairy tale for you. And so when I'm watching it, I'm like, was this a children's movie? Was this intended to be a family?
I have that in my notes. Is this even a children's movie? Because it seems to be more for adults.
Yeah.
Because there are shots of this movie when you see Belle, when the beast is like walking behind her, that it's like almost orgasmic. That like she is like feeling herself when she's in this castle. Just these very like erotic shots.
Oh my goodness,
of Belle.
So I want to talk a little bit about Josettte as Belle.
If you were to sort of describe her as an American actress, who would you describe
I was going to say I would say she looks like Garbo to me. Yeah. Like, that's the
Garbo,
closest thing. She's got the brows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marlena. She's just, she's very beautiful. She's blonde. Her hair is insane in this movie.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the beginning of the movie, like we said, the sisters are making her sew their clothes, cook the food, all this stuff. And she's the scullery maid. She's the Cinderella. And as she like comes out of the farmhouse and like stops against the wall just because she's so tired and overworked, it's just like flawless.
Gorge.
Flawless.
Face.
Like black and white Madonna Vogue video, just like serving face, serving brows.
Isaac Mizrahi from Unzipped, dewy skin.
If you're
going to die in the tundra, this is
perfect
how you do it.
Brows, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay.
I love when she's sneaking out of the house to go to the Beast Castle.
Yeah.
Like her like incognito.
The hooded, yeah.
I'm sneaking out of the house.
It's her like French,
the cover
French
of night.
lieutenant's woman, like drag. Yeah, and she's just like looking from side to side and like
hands
very
on the wall.
Yeah,
yes.
it's so like dramatic and over the top. That's what we were talking about.
It's sort of when you think of classic movie melodrama,
almost silent movie,
melodrama.
Yeah.
You think of this type of
almost silent
performance.
Movie. It's just
very like pantomime.
Everywhere. Yeah. And so that leads me to when she does get to the castle and she starts walking around. Maurice, the father, he's just like this old lumbering man, and he's looking and he's amazed at everything that's happening. When she gets there, she's like frightened. And then there's the hallway scene that we talked a little bit about before. And this is where I'm telling you, it is a Meatloaf video. It is Celine Dion. It's all coming back to me now. You expect like a motorcycle to just come like bursting through the window.
Is that I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf?
But I won't do that.
With the motorcycle?
Yes,
yeah.
There is like white gauzy curtains just like flowing in the wind coming through this hallway. And she's like literally
gliding across the floor.
Down the hallway on an invisible skateboard. And it's just like, it's surreal and it's beautiful. And again, modern audiences, I don't know, maybe somebody would think it was funny. But like, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty successful.
I think it's really cool. And when you do watch something like an early 90s power ballad music video where they're obviously taking this as reference and they're just amping it up to 100.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
You know what I mean? Like
Bonnie Tyler.
All those videos where there's just like, flowing curtains and all of this stuff.
It's pretty much where Joel Schumacher got his entire aesthetic of his career.
Absolutely.
Was from a movie like this.
Go watch Flatliners. A-Train Line. But when you watch this, it's very simple. Like we were saying before, the set is very simple. It's a couple of curtains, and it's her being pulled along, on a skateboard.
Yeah.
But it's just super successful, and
it's an iconic movie image.
Yeah, and it's copied a million times for a reason.
I mean, I don't know if shots like this were done before this movie. I mean, there probably were, but we always remember Beauty and the Beast being one of the first big ways to shoot a scene like this.
Yeah, yeah. And, they work a lot with mirrors. Mirrors are a big kind of concept in this movie. The Beast has a special mirror, and that's something that's kind of brought along in most versions of Beauty and the Beast.
Most versions of the material have the mirror that she can see her father with.
And he can see her.
He can see her,
Yeah, all of that. And so that's in here.
And this movie includes the glove, which I wonder if that's something in the original story.
Well, he says to her at some point
exclusively to this.
He's got like these 5 elements of his magic, and it's the mirror, the glove, the golden key, and a couple other things.
Okay, so the golden key is there is sort of a conservatory in his garden.
Yeah,
and it's like Diana's. I forget how they actually describe it.
He calls it a pavilion.
Is it like Diana's pavilion or something?
Yeah.
And it's not really clear what exactly it is. I almost just think that it is the hub of all of the magic in this castle.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's where it's where the magic comes from, and he says, "You can't go in there. I can't even go in there. Yeah, nobody can go in there." And this key unlocks it. And that's kind of how he shows her how much he trusts her, is by giving her this key, right?
Can I just say, there's something about the Beast that is so emo, too. He's all about, don't look at me. I'm ugly.
Yeah.
And he's not really mean. He's more just tortured.
Yes, because in this movie, the thing with the father is that, you picked a flower, you picked a rose. Those are my favorite roses. If you picked anything else, it would have been fine. But those roses are my favorite. And therefore, you must die. And he straight up tells the dad, I'm going to kill you. And the dad's like, no, I've got children. You can't kill me. And he's like, okay, go home. Say your goodbyes. And then come back. Sending him a magic horse.
Magnifique.
Magnificent. I'm sending you on my magic horse, so Magnifique will be able to bring you back. But he's cool enough that he's like, go and come back. And Maurice is like, sure. And then I'll just set your horse free and never come back.
Yeah.
And so that's when he tells them the whole story, and Belle is like, fuck this, I'm going to go under the cover of night. And she steals Magnifique, and Magnifique has straight up glitter in the hair. Does Barbie have like a fantasy glitter horse?
I mean,
there's got to be.
Barbie definitely has one. I mean, classic My Little Pony. Yeah. I mean, what were the 80s toys of... I mean, My Little Ponies were, petite, but what were, the big
a horse?
The big fucking horses from the 80s.
I don't know. But Magnifique is white. He's almost giving me, She-Ra's horse, Swift Wind. And so when Belle does come back, she's like, hey, I'm here... I'm taking my father's place because I didn't want you to kill him. And he's not like, okay, well then let's go kill you. And he's not like, oh, I'm putting you in jail. Like, as soon as he shows up, he immediately falls in love with her, and he's like, here's your fabulous Norma Desmond bedroom.
Marry me.
Let's get married.
Come live in my enchanted castle.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
why
considering
not?
what her home life is right now, not that bad of a proposition.
Yeah.
Belle may want to reconsider.
I mean, is the whole, like, you only have to see me once a day at 7 o'clock for dinner part of the deal? Because if it is, then why not? Because the castle's not, like, all gross and disgusting. It's not like, you know, it seems cool, nice. There's food. There's just a lot of, like, hands everywhere.
She talks about all of the hands, like, styling her. Doing her hair, too.
Because, I mean, her hair is, like, past her ass. It is, like, so long.
Yeah.
And I love that she has her little teeny crown.
Her little crown. Yep.
There is a Smashing Pumpkins video where they're all dressed crazy. Surprise, surprise. And Darcy looks like Belle with the little crown.
I'm sure that there is some, like, Cocteau-inspired images in old Smashing Pumpkins videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The video that I'm talking about is for a song called, is off the Adore album, and it's called, oh, I can't find it. Oh, well. But I'll mention it later. But, yeah, she's got the little teeny crown. It's a little, who is it? It's like, not King Candy. Who's the, yeah, is it King Candy from,
Wreck-It Ralph?
Wreck-It Ralph, yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have a little crown like that?
I think
he
so.
does, yeah.
The Alan Tudyk character?
Yeah. At any rate, she's got, like, fabulous gowns, fabulous hair, when she's living at the castle. So, yeah, it's, like, kind of like, just stay there. Your sisters are assholes. They don't get to come visit. Your brother's, like, going to be in the poorhouse for all his, like, gambling debts.
But she sees in the mirror that Maurice is ill.
And he's just saying, Belle,
so she's begging to go back.
Yeah. And the Beast is so trusting. His whole thing is like, go home for a week.
Yeah.
That's what he told Maurice at the beginning. Go home for a week, say your goodbyes, and come
Here's
back.
my magical glove. Go back home. Tie up all those loose ends. And I'll be here waiting for you.
Magical transporter glove. That shit is so cool.
Yeah.
The first time she does it, oh my God. And she, like, comes out of the wall. That shit's crazy. That scene is, like, insane.
And it's one of those plot devices that I think that modern audiences would probably give a hard time.
Yeah.
In a movie, but who cares?
It's just magic. You know what I mean? Like, it's all like magic and stuff like that. It all has to, like, be explained away
and also, I
somehow.
Think there's something about this movie that all sort of laws of reality are out the window as soon as you walk on the grounds.
Well, yeah, and he even tells her, too. He's like, here, take this glove, put it on, think about where you want to go, and you'll be there, and it'll be tomorrow. And he tells her, like, it's nighttime right now, but it's not going to be nighttime because when you're in my castle, time works different here. He tells her.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I was going to say, we don't really get, like, a prologue of, like, how he turned into the Beast.
There's a little line of dialogue at the very end when he turns into the prince.
Yeah, and it's so vague. Yeah. It's... I mean, is it vague? Is it I don't know.
Oh, I had to look it up because it was so weird.
I was like, what?
Hold on.
It's a little weird. It's a little cuckoo, but I mean, again, it's one of those things that I feel like audiences, it's just like, okay, whatever. The spell's broken. Yeah. The spell's broken, and now he's a handsome prince.
He explains that because his parents did not believe in spirits, in revenge, the spirits turned him into a beast.
Sure.
Yeah. And
that's old-timey folklore, though. Like, that's like, you know, fairy children and like, changelings and all that, and like, the fairies stealing your baby and leaving, like, a goblin baby in its place and all that kind of stuff. That's things that, like, European people would, like, you know, folklore. That's stuff that they would say all the time.
Yeah.
Changeling babies and all that.
Also, just sort of what exactly is in the woods.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. In these French woods. There's no wolves in this one.
No.
I was hoping there'd be wolves. I love French wolves.
It wasn't in the budget.
There's no budget for a damn wolf.
No budget for wolves in this movie.
Not in this one. This entire movie was shot in a soundstage. No, that's not true. Those outdoors.
They did shoot on a French chateau. I have it written down here. One moment. The Beast Castle exteriors were shot at an existing location, the Chateau de la Roche-Carbon, a French historic site.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Did you read about the costumes? The costumes were all created by the House of Lanvin.
Oh, sure. It's in my notes here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lanvin, but I think it's pronounced Lanvin. La Roche taught us that on season 1 of Legendary. Mm-hmm. House of Lanvin, but it's pronounced Lanvin. And the men's costumes in particular were designed and created by Pierre Cardin, like the actual Pierre Cardin.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Yeah. Who's like just a name now, but like all those like name fashion designers at one point were like a fabulous homosexual in France designing clothes for people. And Pierre Cardin was a person and a fashion designer, and he worked under the House of Lanvin. And yeah, like even like Bill Blass, like the House of Lanvin coming to the stage. Yeah, so the costume, I mean, you know, I feel like any French movie worth its salt, it's going to have like costume designers like from a fabulous fashion house.
Yeah.
I love that about old movies.
So do you know what I saw when I was looking on the wiki of the main star?
Tell me.
Jean
Marais.
He is on the cover of The Smiths' This Charming Man.
Oh, is that him?
I guess that is him.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, that's him.
Yeah, let me look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to look it up again. I know what it looks like, but I'm just going to...
How do you like that?
I mean, I buy it. Oh, okay, yeah. That one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's him.
I think that it's specifically...
Oh, that's totally him.
I think it's specifically a still from Orpheus.
Sure. Now, was Orpheus before or after?
I think it's after. I think it's 1950.
La Belle, la Bête.
I've been meaning to watch that. It's on HBO Max.
Okay. Yeah, that is totally Jean Marais. Yeah. How funny.
Did you know that... Because when Jean Marais, I think of the guy... I think of... who's the star of Purple Noon?
Oh, sure.
Alain Delon.
Yeah, Alain Delon.
And
Alain
the
Delon.
Director of Purple Noon, Ren Clement, ended up filling in as a director of this movie, uncredited, when Cocteau became ill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they sort of shared... I mean, he probably just filled in like a handful of shooting days when he couldn't make it to set, but I thought that was interesting.
Sure.
I really like Purple Noon, and yeah, he directed that movie.
All right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like I said, this director just ran in those bohemian circles and in France.
I found out something
in the 40s and the 50s.
I found out something kind of charming, that he was friends with Marlene Dietrich.
Love it.
And they went to the first screening together, and she sat with him, and she like held his hand the entire time. And when the prince when the beast turns into the prince at the very end,
yeah,
Marlene like got up and shouted at the screen, "Where is my beautiful beast?"
So we have to talk
Marlene
about...
Dietrich was not about the beast turning into the handsome prince. Mm-hmm. Which I think it's sort of the point, is that I think that when he sort of body switches with the brother's friend, because the brother is shot by Diana.
And in this movie, it really feels like it's a body swap.
Yeah.
It really does feel like I said, there's a point in the movie where Avenant, the brother's friend who's in love with Belle, he's like, fuck this, I'm going to go rescue her. And the evil sisters are like, here's everything you need.
Yep.
Like, we got the magic horse.
They get all of the information from Belle.
They stole the key.
Yep. They stole the key.
All this nonsense. And they're like, go, do whatever you need to do, because there's some rich stuff over there, and we need the rich stuff because... And they have already found out that the beast's riches...
are in this pavilion.
Well, that they're in the pavilion, but also that the sisters can't touch them.
Yeah.
Because they just turn to...
Oh, when they get the mirror from the horse.
Yeah.
I forgot about this scene of the movie when they bring the mirror inside the house.
Yeah.
And one of the sisters looks at it, and she's
an old woman.
And she's an old woman, and the other sister looks at it.
She's a little monkey.
And she's a little monkey. Yep.
Well, she told the dad
that she wanted a monkey.
Oh, singe. un singe. Yeah, she wanted a monkey. Bring me back a monkey, because that's when they thought he was going to be rich again. That's when they found out that the ships were found with all of his stuff inside, and that he was going to be able to sell it. But then it turned out that there was nothing there. But when he was going, like, oh, I'm going to town to go get all my money. We're going to be rich now.
Money, honey.
The one girl was like, oh, bring me, like, a dress or whatever. But the other sister was like, oh, singe, I want a monkey. And the dad was like, okay, whatever.
Okay, whatever.
So when they look in the mirror, and it's really effective when you see the old woman.
Yeah.
Because the girl, like, is holding it, and the old woman in it is like... She's acting like in that one little shot. I'm like, okay, it's very effective. And then when the really mean one gets it, she looks and she's a little Mickey, she's a little Marcel with the little like cap, little milkmaid cap. So when Avenant and the brother go,
they make a beeline right for the pavilion too.
Yes, yeah.
They're going to go check it out before they go after.
And
the
they
beast.
like try to use the key, but the brother's like, "There's magic everywhere. We know there's magic. We saw the mirror. We saw the horse."
So they figure the best way is to go through the roof and break the glass. That seems like the logical step of not going in through the front door is cracking the ceiling.
And the brother's like, what are you doing? It's too high. Like, this is crazy. And Avenant's like, no, I got this. Like, lower me down, whatever. And in another instance of statues coming to life, there's a statue of Diana. And what goddess is Diana?
Diana's goddess of the hunt.
Okay.
I believe that she is Roman.
Yes. And her Greek counterpart is probably Diana. Diana is her counterpart, Selene. She goddess of the moon. I'm not sure.
Greek goddess of the hunt, Artemis?
Oh, Artemis. There you go.
But yeah, I know that Diana is...
yeah. And this Diana, the statue, is she's got a bow and arrow, and she just turns and like, boom, shoots him right in the back. And as Avenant gets hit with the arrow,
he turns into the beast.
Yep. And at that exact moment, the beast... like leaps up, like
because the beast is dying. It's like he's dying of a broken heart.
That's where it gets a little like what's going on.
I think he's dying of a broken heart.
Yeah. Because like Belle's
if you're gonna use like fairy tale logic that his heart can't handle that she's been gone.
She has her week of like going back and caring for the dad, but she hasn't really been like the sisters hijacked the mirror, so she hasn't really been in real contact with him. So I think he's just like, where the fuck is she? She's been gone too long. And I think the magic is kind of unraveling because it's all being stolen and used in these weird ways. So I think that's why he's dying too.
Yeah.
And when he's
I love that shot of him springing up.
Another reverse
shot.
Yeah. He's wearing like the pumpkin pants,
the puffy pumpkin pants. Yep.
Tights. Like his face is like so beautiful. His hair is cool.
I mean, this is when you really see that this director knows how to deliver high camp. Is moments like this.
And I think it really, like you said, it really is done in a way of like, come on, this guy.
Yeah.
And
I almost played like a joke.
Yeah. He's got this big smile and he's just like, haha, like I'm alive now. Let's go.
And when Belle looks at him, she's kind of like, oh, okay.
So we have to talk about the prince or the beast transformation in the Disney movie.
Yeah.
Because this is a major, major point of contention with people who grow up on that movie. Thinking the exact same thing.
You always prefer the beast looking like the beast.
What anybody is like, oh no, the prince at the end of Beauty and the Beast was like super hot and he was way better than the Beast. No one. Everybody you know, right, is like, that was weird.
And especially in the animated movie, I mean, he's pretty much animated like Fabio.
Yes.
Too.
Very 90s. He's got like this long hair. Like he's all buff.
Looks like he just walked off of like a Harlequin romance cover.
The shirt all torn. And it's one of those things, you know, I mean, we can analyze Disney animated features until the cows come home, but we're not there for the princes, right? We're there for the princesses. Like, the princes are cool, but like, I can count on like 2 fingers, like the good ones, right? We like Prince Philip. We like Eric.
Prince Philip, Prince Eric.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody else
kind of leads them.
Yeah, everybody else is the same.
They can go right off into the sunset with each other.
Yeah. And in Beauty and the Beast in 1991, we loved the movie, and then the end comes, and Beast transforms, and we're all just like, this guy?
And I feel like there isn't any irony behind it, unlike this movie that really knows.
I was going to say.
Cocteau knows that you prefer the Beast in his Beast form.
It's very much designed that way.
It's designed that way.
Yeah, we like the Beast. We sympathize with him. He's not, like you said, he's not mean or evil to Belle. And when he does eventually turn, and he even says it, he's like, I look like your friend, don't I? And she's like, yeah, you do.
You kind of do. Did you like your friend?
Were you in love with him? Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess she's like, well, yeah, I guess it'll work.
Yeah. She's like, I gotta get used to it. It's crazy. But you're right. It's camp. It's intentional. And I think it's just speaks to, he probably knew, like, at a certain point, if you haven't seen the prince, like, there's no way, there's nobody that it could be that we're going to be like, okay, that's better.
Like this is the character that we've been invested with for 90 minutes.
Yeah. So when it changes, we're just like, oh, okay, yeah, go marry this stranger. You know, so it's always going to be a shock to the audience. So I think he had to just be like, we're just going to lean into that shock and we're going to play it, and we're going to play high camp. And again, this actor is very handsome, very good looking guy. His hair as the prince at the end is, I'm fascinated. It's like these big blonde curls, but not corny, like really cool looking. And like he has these dimples and just like this great smile, but he knows, like, he's smiling in this way that's like, he's like, this actor is fully in on it. He knows that this is crazy. Like, he's wearing these tights and he's not wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing tights?
He's barefoot.
He's wearing tights with no shoes. Doesn't make any sense.
And you know what also does not make any sense?
When they fly off into the sunset,
when they
like
fly
like
off
Danny and
into
Sandy.
the heavens. Pretty much, I mean, yeah, like straight out of Greece.
Like Danny and Sandy did the Greece.
I mean, they don't quite go to heaven at the end of the movie, but they go to some
he says like
magical land.
Yeah, I thought he was going to take her back to her house or something, but he's like, I'll fly you there or whatever. And then he grabs her, and then another reverse shot. They jump up into the air, where clearly they jumped off of like a scaffolding and landed on the floor, and then they just shot in reverse. And she's got like all these clothes and piles of like tulle and organza, and it looks crazy and fantastic and all of that.
Her dresses are they give me on the old seasons of Project Runway when they would just have to do the avant-garde challenge.
Yeah.
And they pretty much get dresses like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just with an asymmetrical shoulder.
Like there is reasons why fashion references all of these garments.
Yeah, totally. We need to talk about fairy tale theater.
Yeah, so last night...
I'm Shelley Duvall.
So last night, we did a little YouTube deep dive into the old fairy tale theaters. So, I mean, for listeners, I'm sure that you know what fairy tale theater was. Were they made for Showtime or HBO?
They were made for HBO.
They were made for HBO, and they were usually about an hour. And
early 80s. We're talking 1981, 82.
Probably through like 84 or so. And they just did all of the classic fairy tales.
Yes.
And some of the talent that they would get for these.
Yeah.
Get for these TV movies.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched Beauty and the Beast last night, which is pretty much a 50-minute remake
of this movie.
This movie in particular.
The Beast's makeup is exactly the same.
And
the costuming.
That one stars Susan Sarandon.
Yes.
A young Susan Sarandon.
In 1981, Susan Sarandon as the Beauty.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. The huge eyes, all of that. Klaus Kinski, German avant-garde.
Worked with Rainer Herzog a lot. Mm-hmm. I know him most notably from the Nosferatu.
Yes, with Isabella Gianni, which was a Werner Herzog
And also,
movie,
he has some crazy eyes.
He does. Mm-hmm. He looks nuts.
Speaking of beasts with very, dynamic eyes.
So, if all of the Fairy Tale Theater episodes are on YouTube, I mean, we should encourage you to purchase them, but they're all on YouTube for free.
I don't think that you can even rent them anymore.
Oh, okay.
They used to be on Hulu.
They were.
And they took them off, so there's something just weird with the streaming
And why are they not on HBO Max? Hello? They were HBO. And let me tell you, listeners, in 1981, HBO was brand new, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not like, like Game of Thrones, it's not like HBO movies like what we know today. Like premium cable was a brand new thing. What, I got to pay for TV now? And so they had first run movies, but they also had first run programming, and they had these television movies. And Fairy Tale Theater was kind of run by Shelley Duvall. She hosted every episode.
Yep. She probably got an exec producer credit on it too.
She appeared in a couple of them.
I believe she is Rapunzel.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And, when you watch some of them, like Scott said, the talent in them is very interesting. Tim Burton, one of his earliest directing jobs was directing Aladdin and His Magical Lamp for the Fairy Tale Theater. Our good buddy Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman is Pinocchio.
Yep.
Christopher Reeve, Superman, is the woodsman in Little Red Riding Hood.
No, I know that Christopher Reeve is the prince in Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, Sleeping Beauty. You're right. I'm sorry.
So I remember we had a few of these on Laserdisc when I was a kid at my grandma's house. And the ones that we had, I believe, were Sleeping Beauty. That one has Bernadette Peters as Sleeping... I don't think her name is Aurora. I think it's just Sleeping Beauty. Mm-hmm. And Beverly D'Angelo as the evil fairy. And Carol Kane is like the good fairy. And the whole theme is like Arabian Nights, which is kind of an interesting take on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they tried to do little avant-garde spins, something that you couldn't do today, an Arabian Nights spin with an all-white cast, but, it was 1981.
I love Beverly D'Angelo's...
man.
Her at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't turn into a dragon. She just sort of turns into a big reptile lady, and she has these long fingernails. I used to love it as a kid.
Yeah, so cool.
And what else do we had? We had, I think, Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Okay.
I can't remember who's in that one. And then... we may have had the Prague Prince. I don't know. What were kind of your favorites as a kid that you would watch?
I remember the Little Red Riding Hood episode because we watched
the clip of that last night
when they cut open the Big Bad Wolf, who is played by Malcolm McDowell, and Mary Steenburgen alive pops out of the wolf's stomach. To this day, scarred for life. Ricky Schroeder and the little girl from Savannah Smiles, R.I.P., were Hansel and Gretel.
Isn't it Joan Collins who's the witch?
Yes.
In that, which is kind of awesome.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember the Snow White with Elizabeth McGovern. And
Elizabeth McGovern and Vanessa Redgrave.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember
Queen.
Her in her in her bedroom where she's running around and she's seeing her reflections.
Well, what we loved about this as a kid, my mom had a Grimm's fairy tale book, and she would read them to us. And me and Amy,
all of the weird dark shit and all that. And, well, especially I think Cinderella is like a really weird one. And all of that's sort of put into the woods, like Sondheim's Into the Woods, like all of the
pecking
weird
of the eyes,
plot
and
points of Cinderella,
cutting off of the toes and the heels and all of that and everything. And Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theaters did that. They incorporated all of these dark elements.
Like they didn't softball how fucked up all of these stories were to kids.
Yeah. And so in the Beauty and the Beast episode, I think they lean even more into Belle, which they name straight up Beauty. They're like, hey, Beauty, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, just call her Belle. They lean even more into, after the Beast changes into the Prince, she's really like, oh, hi.
All right.
Okay. She's straight up like, I don't know who you are. Because there is no Avenant character in that version.
Yes.
Because they're truncated. They're hour.
Truncated.
They're 45 minutes.
They're 45 to 50 minutes. Yeah.
So there's not the whole like, well, you kind of look like my friend and I loved him, but whatever. She's straight up like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, could you learn? Like, what do you think? And she's like, well, it's going to take me a minute. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay. And then they just they don't walk off.
So I love that one of the sisters is played by Angelica Houston.
Yes, in the Fairy Tale Theater.
So interesting at this time with Angelica Houston. Mm-hmm. I mean, she was definitely a star.
But it was early in her career.
It was early in her career, but
was she more of a model?
She
then?
was more like model and socialite, and she dated Jack Nicholson in the 70s.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Young Angelica Houston. Beautiful woman.
Very striking. But also kind of unusual
also
looking.
A little witchy. Mm-hmm. A little witchy looking. But I love it. But yeah.
And that episode is directed by Roger Vadim.
Roger Vadim, yeah.
And he did Barbarella, and I believe that he was married to...
He was married to Jane Fonda, but at the time of Barbarella. Mm-hmm. So like literally in the 60s. Like 55 years ago.
He had a son with Catherine Deneuve.
Oh, so wow.
Interesting.
Roger Vadim got around. Like the most beautiful women in Hollywood.
It doesn't look like they were married, but they definitely dated as they were making the movie.
Okay. So Fairy Tale Theater got a lot of big directors, cool directors, people with a point of view, and a lot of really great actors.
All on YouTube. Check them out.
Yeah.
The Karen Black Little Mermaid is also really good.
Karen Black is the Sea Witch. Mm-hmm. Pam Dauber from Mork and Mindy. Oh, our older listeners. Did I just call you old? I sure did. If you remember Mork and Mindy,
you probably need eye cream.
Yeah, go take your Boniva. Not Boniva. That's too old. Yeah, I think Fairy Tale Theater was a lot of fun. But the thing is, these old, and this doesn't even count as a Grimm's fairy tale. Was this French novel, but I don't know. Like I said, my mom had that Grimm's fairy tale book, and my sister and I, we were just fascinated. We were just like, this is wild. This is for kids. This is for us. These are old stories, and every time there was an adaptation, I was always down. I was always like, yeah, let's see it. So I didn't care if it was Disney animated, whatever. I was just like, let's watch it.
Do we want to talk a little bit about the kind of forgotten Disney live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast? So do you remember the whole brouhaha of the first exclusively gay moment in a Disney movie?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking during all of that press... So,
lies and deception.
Are y'all just forgetting that the 1946 version does not exist? Because that movie is queer as hell.
And the Jean Cocteau erasure.
When I kind of give that movie credit, it's directed by Bill Condon, who is gay.
Yeah.
So, and whenever you sort of do a pass of this material, you cannot help but directly pull from this movie. It's like you have to. And I mean, Beauty and the Beast is fine. The Emma Watson one, it's fine. It's what I refer to as a very single-serving movie. You watch it once.
One and done.
You enjoy it.
Yeah.
You may put it on after you bought the Blu-ray. And then you're just like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I watched this once, and it is fine.
Did we or did we not see this in Mexico?
We saw it in Mexico. I remember we watched it in Mexico when our plane got delayed.
In Mexico City. Mm-hmm. Our plane got delayed for hours.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we'll just go to the movies.
We were just wandering around Mexico City, and I love the novelty of going to an American movie in a foreign country.
Did it have subtitles? It probably did. Spanish subtitles.
But, I mean, it's fine. And it's just kind of when you look at the design of a character like the Beast.
Yes.
There is something that I do not like about how Luke Evans is Gaston. Dan Stevens. There is just something that I do not like about the character design of Dan Stevens. And I know that that's probably the best that you're going to get for the Beast, but I don't like it.
Well, I mean, look at the French Vincent Cassel version.
The Vincent Cassel version is also weird, which I have not watched that movie.
It's also weird.
I bet that it's probably pretty good.
There's some
if I were to actually like sit down and watch it.
I mean, if anything, it's a French version of Beauty and the Beast. So the thing about the 1991 animated feature is that, the thing about animated movies is the whole point of animation is to do something.
To do stuff that you can't
do. Things that you can't film, right? And this Beast character that they created is so cool because you have no constraint of how do we build this? How do we make it look real? You just buy it when it's animated, right? And not always. Some things look a little funky, and it takes the finesse of the Disney animators to say, we're going to put in these horns, and it's going to have a bear's build, and it's going to have
has the neck arch like a buffalo.
Yeah, yeah. All of there's so many. I mean, there's tons of behind the scenes features, and they're talking about all the animals that they pulled from to create the Beast from the 1991
and he's voiced by heartthrob Robbie Benson.
Robbie Benson, blue eyes, black hair. I love it. But the Beast that they created, this like weird pastiche of animals and all these crazy features, it works so well. And in these Disney live-action remakes...
Which I guess the Beast is animated.
Yeah.
Because it's visual effects. Yeah. But, I mean, they're trying to do something photoreal with it.
Yeah, and they didn't even adhere to the Beast from the animated feature. It doesn't look like him.
Which I guess is fine. Like, you can have the Beast sort of have its own look. But
then why does Pinocchio just look like a... cut and paste job.
The reviews of Pinocchio have not been great. We are probably going to watch it right when we get off this recording.
We are recording this on Disney Plus Day.
Yeah, so we're probably going to watch it after we finish up this episode.
The big thing about when we first saw the images for Pinocchio, we were like, it's literally...
it's
just Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, yeah.
And they did this thing where, like, his eyes are, like, painted on... because he's a puppet, and it's magic. So his eyes are flat as if it's paint. Nah. So, like, I don't know. Maybe Pinocchio is more iconic, so they couldn't stray. But the Beast, in this attempt to go photoreal, I don't think they kept all the references and the proportion of the Beast from the animated movie. So the Dan Stevens character... it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't quite have a lot of dimension to it.
It doesn't fit in the frame with her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just looks funky.
Looks silly.
Yeah. And I'm not one of those like, Emma Watson's terrible. I like Emma Watson. I like her.
She does a serviceable job in the movie.
Beautiful, first off. She can't help that. But I think she's got great style. I like her acting. I'm like Hermione.
I mean, you break out like the vocal tune.
Give me the voice tune. Give me the Pro Tools. Mm-hmm. That's what they're there for.
Yep.
Whatever. She's not the greatest singer of all time. It's not the most demanding vocal role. I don't know. Theater kids, step to me for that one.
I wonder how she feels about declining
La La Land
to make Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. I think Beauty and the Beast will probably live a little bit longer than La La Land.
I don't know about that. I feel like not a lot of people talk about.
It's Disney.
But there's something about Beauty and the Beast is that it was made in 2017, but yet I feel like it's just not talked about at all anymore.
You're right. And there are those hardcore like La La Land's my favorite movie. Mm-hmm. And listeners, if that's you, we're
looking at you, Cinefix,
sorry about it
on YouTube. Ranking La La Land as the greatest movie musical of all time.
Get the hell out of here! Sorry, friends.
Sorry, friends over at Cinefix on YouTube.
Yeah. So, I mean, this material has been around for a long time.
I mean, there's been numerous television shows of Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
There was the 80s one with Linda Hamilton.
And Ron Perlman. And the joke is that Ron Perlman wasn't wearing any makeup. Yes, he was. He's just crazy looking.
And then there was fully like a CW one that went on for like 4 seasons.
Yeah. There really was.
Yeah. Which, I mean, good for those actors for collecting those paychecks.
Oh, Beastly?
Beastly? Oh, my God. My friend Christine and I saw Beastly at City Walk.
Oh, love it.
Yep.
We
saw Beastly at City Walk.
Love it. And was Mary Kate like the evil witch?
Alex Pettifor is turned into this weird beast SNL, like S&M.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, like, fetish.
She's got, like, staples in his face.
Yes, like, staples in his face. But, yeah, Mary Kate Olsen plays, like, a high school witch.
Love it.
That transforms him into the beast. Like, exactly on my brand of bullshit.
And the CW show had the girl from Smallville.
Yeah.
Lana Lang. Yeah.
Lana Lang.
Kristen
yeah.
Kriuk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kristen Kriuk was in that. Yeah, Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman, Get Out of Here. That was like 80s classic. He lived in the sewers. His name was Vincent.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it sometimes goes on and off streaming.
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's an 80s melodrama.
It's a nighttime
soap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but like fantasy. So it wasn't great, but it lasted a couple seasons out of it. So, but yeah, I mean, this material, it's one of those, like, it's part of cultural fabric, like everybody.
I'm always surprised at friends of mine that have not seen this movie.
Yes,
that are just really into film
movies. Yeah, how
that
are you
need to watch
person?
this. If
you're a film person,
if you're a film person,
yeah.
you need to watch La Belle et la Bête.
And the thing is, if you think it's foreign, it's French, it's black and white, it's old, it's inaccessible, it's not. It is very watchable.
Yeah,
there are certain black and white foreign movies that are just like snooze fest. Mm-hmm. This is very watchable. It goes down very easy. The visuals are so beautiful and just filled every shot.
Yeah, like I mean,
cool.
it's cinematic poetry, and you know what's also kind of crazy about the production of this movie. So this would have been made in France, sort of after World War II.
Yeah,
as like Europe was rebuilding.
Yeah,
Cocteau was making this movie.
Yes,
which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think if those things are kind of scaring you away in that it's like, oh, it's too avant-garde or it's too, like, artsy or filmy or whatever, it's definitely not that. It is an old movie, and it feels like an old movie. But at the same time, I think a modern audience...
and you're going to pick up on things that you have seen.
Oh,
like we're talking before, things that you've seen referenced in other movies.
It came from you. If it reminds you of something else, that something else that it reminds you of, ripped it off from this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing about older movies, black and white movies. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, the pacing of these movies.
Yeah.
No. This movie is paced.
It's pretty quick and snappy.
Yeah.
I mean, this has always been my favorite adaptation of this fairy tale. Mm-hmm. I love how dreamlike it is. Mm-hmm. It's a movie about like desire.
Yeah.
And it's also about shame, what we hide inside of ourselves.
Yes.
And I mean... any homosexual knows about, like, self-loathe, too. So we can all sort of see ourselves in a character like the Beast.
Or putting on a mask and hiding your true self,
if you're gonna,
your
like,
identity. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. And I mean... on top of all that, this movie's serving glamour. It's serving Andre Leon Talley. It's serving creative director of American Vogue. It's serving Claudia. It's with Orbe hair.
Was there ever a photo shoot on America's Next Top Model where, I mean, I feel like AMTM would never be this like cool that they would recreate a scene from Beauty and the Beast.
But I'm doing Sandra Bernhard on Letterman, where he's just like, oh, sure,
okay.
I'm serving Helena makeup and Orbe hair and Andre Leon Talley. Serving all of it. We're serving the 60s by way of the 90s. This movie's serving all of that. So it's got all the queer shit, and it's got cool film person cred. Like, I'm a film dude, and I know about the French New Wave. Like, by the way, like, all that French New Wave, they owe everything to Cocteau.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, don't even get me started on, like, Jules and Jim. Right? If you have not seen this movie.
Godard can go jump in the lake.
Godard can go fly a damn kite as far as Cocteau is concerned. Like, they owe everything to this. What did Orpheus, the other one that he had done? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to start with this. So, and it's queer as hell.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad
the director
it was our
first.
It was our first foreign movie that we've done.
Yes,
I always want to do more. I mean, we are going to be doing one in a few weeks. That is, it is in Spanish.
Okay,
we previewed it in our newsletter. Mm-hmm. We will be recording it soon with a friend.
Yes,
and I'd love to get something. I love to do something by like Almodovar. Like what Almodovar movie do you think that we should cover eventually?
I don't know.
I mean, Bad Education. Bad Education is really good. All About My Mother.
Yeah.
All really good. I mean, we could even do something like Voltaire, too. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. They're all great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll have a foreign film on this podcast. But yeah, my biggest thing for you, the listener, is that if you feel like these movies are not accessible to you as maybe an American moviegoer or a modern moviegoer or an English-speaking moviegoer, don't have those feelings. Don't have those kind of insecurities about it. They're accessible. And certain ones are more accessible than others. And we always go for those on this show. We're always going to bring you the ones that are like, go down easy, so definitely recommend this movie. There's a Criterion release of it if you can get your hands on that.
I have the Blu-ray of it.
It's got... They're not called special features.
The supplements.
They're called supplements on Criterion because they're cool. But
I'm sure it's
available for rent everywhere.
I'm sure it's on the Criterion channel.
Yeah, on Criterion channel. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. So go look it up. La Belle, Bête, 1946.
Well, Pete, do you want to wrap things up?
I think we should wrap things up.
This was a fun episode.
This was a great episode. A lot of fun. But I think it's probably time of the show.
Patreon shout-outs?
Yes, indeed. It is time to say hello to all of our wonderful patrons, including Flemish Giant, Jackson, Millie, Darcy, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Christopher, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Michael, Charlie, Muffy, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Elizabeth, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emla Melly, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, Nick, and Shannon, Ruthino, and Christine.
Thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Our Patreon has got a lot of cool stuff on there, including
the Watch With Us commentaries.
Yes!
You'll get access to those. We're probably going to be recording another one for this month, and we're coming up on October. We usually do a few in October, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Patrons, listen up. If you have any suggestions for a Watch With Us commentary track, let us know, and maybe we'll record
the commentary tracks are fun because they're the type of movies that we may not do an individual episode on. Yeah, but we still like to watch movies, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and watch it with us.
And I can't stress this enough. You can listen to it as a supplemental episode, but if you sync it up with the movie and watch the commentary, and we comment on the movie as we're watching it, it's really fun. Mm-hmm. I love doing it. It's really fun. So check that out. Head over to patreon.com/movies-that-made-us-gay for all of the tier levels that we have and all of the features on there. So we would love it if you become a patron. All of that, all of the donations that you provide to us, we cannot thank you enough for them, and they go directly into keeping this podcast alive and brought to you every week, commercial free.
Yeah.
So check that out. We'd also love it if you would rate and review.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can give us a 5-star rating. And if you want to leave us a review that you write, we will read that on an episode. So thank you for doing that. It's easy and it's free. We love it.
You can follow our social medias at Movies That Made Us Gay at Facebook
and Instagram,
and on Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. So we're on all the socials. Follow us there. Mm-hmm. And if you want to follow our personals, feel free. I am Pete. I am at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed.
And if you follow my letterbox close enough, you can probably see what we will be covering on the show.
Oh, hey-o. Mm-hmm. You can get down and dirty and figure all that out. But until next week, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.